Welcome to today's edition of the Rush 24/7 podcast.
No. The point was, how could I not have been clear yesterday? How in the world could you have not understood what I was talking about? This blows my mind. I'm feeling like Trump here. What do you mean you don't get what I was saying? It was very, very clear. We had a lady call who said we need to go back to the days of Reagan when everybody was unified. I said we weren't unified. She said we have 49 state landslides. I said yes, but if we were so unified, I mean, we came together on elections, but if you're so unified, we had record prosperity, we had record creation of wealth, we had low unemployment, we had low deficits, we had the biggest economic boom post World War II in those, well, actually the last 6 years of Reagan. What happened to it? Why didn't it last? My only question, Joe, why didn't it last? Why are we here today? Why didn't the people alive experiencing all of that understand what was going on? How were they talked out of it and elected Bill Clinton a few short 4 years later after Reagan left? And of course, the discussion of that is eye-opening and instructive, and that's all I was getting at yesterday. We can have 8 years. In fact, the Reagan boom went through the mid-'90s, for crying out loud. All of that prosperity and all those good economic times that people were living through, and they were still able to be talked out of it. All right, I'll expand on it even further today, because I think the reason it's important to me, the reason the lady's call lit me up, and it was nothing to do with her. I mean, it's not personal to her, but she said we need somebody, and she was for Rubio, I think, which we need somebody that can unify us. That's not the answer here. We're never going to be unified. We're not going to be unified with Bernie Sanders supporters. They don't want to be unified. We're not going to be unified with Hillary Clinton. So we have to beat them. And once we beat them, they have to stay beaten. That's the way they look at us. Hi, folks. How you doing? Great to have you here. Rush Limbaugh, the EIB Network. I'll develop this more as the program unfolds. There's more pressing stuff here. Although I don't know what could be more pressing than that. And I'll be happy to go through it again. More than happy. As many times as it takes. 800-282-2882 if you want to be on the program. The email address, lrushbaugh@eibnet.com. All right, I'm getting tired of something. I'm getting a little tired of everybody in the establishment, everybody in the media talking about how anger is the driving force of this, as though it is a disqualifier. As though the anger that is propelling this election makes the results illegitimate. That's what the establishment's trying to tell us. That's what the drive-by media is trying to tell us. That's what Axelrod's trying to tell us, and a bunch of Democrat analysts. All this anger out here, it's irrational. It's kooky. Well, let me throw something at you here on this. See, I think the anger is totally understandable. I think it's called for. I think the anger, there ought to be a little bit more of it, if you ask me. But how come when some downtrodden group in America, when the gay lobby is mad, we're supposed to take time out and understand the rage and learn from it? When Saudi Islamists hijacked 3 airplanes and crashed the World Trade Center and the Pentagon and another Washington target, why do we take time out to say, gee, why do they hate us? What have we done to make them so mad? And then we're told that we must not react irrationally here. We must try to understand their rage. Why? Because it's our fault, we're told. It's something that we did as a nation. State Department had seminars after 9/11. What did we do to make them hate us? But you notice in this anger, it's directed where? It's directed at Washington establishment. Is the Washington establishment ever saying, we need to pause. We need to have a timeout. We need to find out why they're so mad at us. We need to just go, what have we done wrong? Wouldn't that be the consistent thing? Except that's not the case. In the case of the anger on the Republican side propelling this primary season, everybody is saying it's irrational, it's kooky, it's irresponsible, it's insane. Nobody is saying, hey, why are they mad? What did we do to make them so mad? Maybe we need a seminar or two over here at some lobbyist's office to figure out why they're so mad at us. Why is it not the case? Why is the anger propelling the Republican primary vote automatically disqualified as unhinged, irrational, and yet the anger of terrorists blowing us to smithereens The anger of illegal immigrants breaking our laws to get in the country. The anger of every minority group ticked off at basically being unhappy in life. We're supposed to stop. We're supposed to understand the rage. We're supposed to learn from it. And what we're supposed to learn from it is that it's our fault. Okay? Well, I'd like to turn that right around on the Republican and the entire Washington establishment. Why don't you people take a little time out? Instead of mischaracterizing the anger, why don't you follow your own guidelines and try to learn from it? Why don't you try to ask yourself, what have you done that made everybody so mad? You know, don't let them do this to you. They're trying to make you think that you are a wacko. Some of you may be, but I mean, not because of your anger. Do not let them convince you that there's something wrong with you because your emotions are at a feverish pitch in this campaign. They ought to be. What are you laughing at in there? Well, I mean, in a large group of people, you're going to have a certain percentage of them going to be kooks. And most kooks actually don't know who they are. If they did, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing, right? But the ugly, for example, they know who they are. That's. I mean, you can't. There's a way of rationalizing it, but it's important in policy in dealing with these various things. Okay, let's go to Nevada here. Trump wins third time in a row by margins that actually outstrip most of the optimistic polls. And this is kind of interesting because I have here in my formerly nicotine-stained fingers story here from the, what is this, the Hill.com. Rubio, Trump underperformed in Nevada caucuses. It's an amazing analysis from number two. Oh, we got to get to John Kasich, too. Everybody started saying, what is he hanging around for? I can tell you exactly what he's hanging around for. Do you know what he's hanging around for? You don't? I'll give you a hint. It's not to win Ohio. That's not why John, even if he won Ohio, big whoop, that's all he's going to win. And, oh, damn right he does. And everybody's got it wrong. Everybody's thinking that what ought to happen is that Rubio ought to go to Kasich and sign him up as his VP, and that'd get Kasich out of the race and takes Kasich 6 or 7 or whatever points he's got added to Rubio, makes it a real race. Why would Kasich go to Rubio's not going to win? Rubio hadn't won anything yet. That's another thing. Rubio, another second place. We're talking about Rubio. Rubio hasn't won diddly squat. Trump's running away with this. The only guy that's beat Trump so far is Cruz. Cruz needs to make some adjustments, I think. But no, Kasich, I don't know, but I mean, I'm common sense that he's hanging around waiting for Trump to ask him to be VP. Why sign up with somebody who's not going to win this thing? Why wouldn't you want to be the VP of the front runner, which would be Donaldus Maximus, the Trumpster? Why wouldn't you sign up with him if you're from Kasich's standpoint? That's what I think he's doing. This is it for Kasich. I mean, he's not going to win this. He's not going to be any more than governor unless he becomes somebody's VP. 63, 64 years old, whatever. And this is the biggest shot that he's going to get. So I'm sure that's why he's hanging on. And if he can do well in Ohio, that could send a signal. You got Trump. Trump could arguably say some Florida. He could arguably say some New York. Trump can say he's wherever he's playing happens to be that day. And Kasich from Ohio. That's what I think Kasich's doing. And Kasich kind of telegraphed it when he told a crowd, just, I don't know what I'm doing here. Did you see that? I don't know that I'm in this to win the presidency. He said, I'm just in this, and we'll just see where it all falls out. We'll just see where it goes. Well, where it's going, I'm sure Kasich's told all of his people, stay off the phones, wait for the call to be Veep from somebody. And if Rubio calls him to be Veep, he'd have to take the call. He'd have to consider it. But why would he do that? Why would he do it? The only reason to do that would be on the theory that, okay, if I take my support here, my voluminous support of whatever it is, 6 points of 7 points, and then I add that to Rubio's, I'm still 10 points behind Trump, and that's the way I'm going to get to the vice presidency. I don't think he's going to see it that way, but I could be wrong. Look, that's not my business. I'm just a commentator here on the radio, responsible for all of this mess. Oh, yeah, it's still going on. I mean, they brought Fred Barnes on Fox to talk about it yesterday. David Asman did. I don't even want to get into it. It happens every election. Every election, the people don't get it's my fault. It is. Whoever's losing, it's my fault for not signing up. It's my fault for not endorsing. It's my fault for not doing this. And the winners all think that I've been on their side. And they all thanking me and praising me. So, and I'm not doing anything differently. But anyway, Rubio is saying, he said, well, this is Wednesday, right? Rubio said that Trump had underperformed in the Nevada caucus. He said last time Mitt Romney got over 50%, so Trump actually underperformed what Romney did. Not once, but twice in this state. Rubio was on Fox and Friends today, and he was talking about 2008, 2012. Well, I hate to break it to him, but this was a slam dunk. Let me find the turnout was a record. The turnout was a all-time high. In 2008, the turnout was 44,000, Republican side, Nevada caucus. In 2012, it was 32,000. Yesterday, 73,000. Yesterday's turnout was almost exactly equal to the combined turnout of 2008 and 2012. And Trump won 46%. He's looking at this. He says, Mitt Romney, whatever percentage Romney got in terms of real votes, is in Trump's rearview mirror, no matter how you slice this. But I understand what Rubio's doing. I mean, Rubio wants to stay in this and considered to be a very close front runner, and all kind, perception is reality. So try to get it out there that Trump underperformed, because that would be a first if outside of Iowa. But anyway, let's go through the rest of this. Trump wins Nevada, third primary/caucus in a row, by margins that actually outstrip most of the polls that were optimistic. He actually did better. He outperformed the polls. There might be a Trump effect out there going on. There might be, meaning fewer people say they're going to vote for Trump than actually do. I mean, more people vote for him than say so in polls, because he's overperforming. He's outperforming the polls. And for a third time in a row, the Republican turnout broke all previous records. And again, in Nevada, turnout yesterday was almost equal to the combined turnout of 08 and 12. Trump even won by a percentage that exceeds the total. Now, here's the thing about this. I realize you had to stay up until, 11:30 or midnight last night to have any idea what was happening. And there was a attitudinally, I think a lot of people, Nevada, it's way out there. It's casinos. Come on. It doesn't matter what happens. The Nevada primary, no big deal. And then you see that the Republicans that lived there showed up in a record number. And you find out that there isn't any off state here. There isn't any state where people are ho-hum about this. The news preliminarily to Nevada did not make Nevada look nearly as big as South Carolina, for example, or Iowa, New Hampshire. It was just kind of the next spot, but it was sandwiched there. What really was important is what's coming next. Nevada is kind of a speed bump, and then you see all this turnout. It was huge in Nevada, like it has been everywhere else. Now, Trump won by a percentage that exceeds the totals of the next two candidates combined. Trump got 45.9, so we'll round that off. People Rio Linda can more easily follow us here. 46% for Trump. Rubio and Cruz votes combined add up to 45.3. Rubio at 24 and Cruz at 21.5. And once again, Trump won all groups. He won very conservative voters, 38%. He won somewhat conservative voters, 50%. He won moderate voters, 55%. Look, this is moderates. Look at, why are you shocked? What I have been saying for I don't know how long, Trump's coalition is exactly what the Republican Party for all these years have been claiming they want. He's got He got people from every ethnic group and sizable percentages of them. He's out there. There's a question in the sound bites. The CNN, they can't figure it out. Somebody asked Gloria Borger, Gloria, why is it that so many Hispanics are supporting Trump when he insults them every day? She didn't have an answer for it. Well, anger. Man, they don't have an answer for it. To this day, they can't explain this. I understand that. Moderates are supposed to be turned off by anger. Look, but you know as well as I do, there's nothing more than a liberal Democrat trick to get the Republicans to shut up about what they believe. It's exactly right. Republicans believe, don't criticize Obama. Don't be seen as shutting down the government. Don't disagree. Oh, my God, you're going to be seen as an obstructionist and not wanting to make Washington work, and the independents are not going to like it. They're going to run right to the Democrats. Well, you can't find somebody that's more angry, obstinate, in your face, insulting. I mean, everything that the Republicans believe turns off moderates. Trump is hoovering them up. So here we go again. Let me just start. Don't interrupt me here. Very conservative, Trump gets 38%. Somewhat conservative, Trump gets 50%. Moderate voters, 55%. He won both men and women. He won voters in every age group over 30. He won evangelical voters as well as non-evangelicals. And, of course, the drive-bys are scratching their heads on. They don't understand how in the world that can be happening. And it's very simple how it can be happening. All these people on the left think that every conservative is a monolith. And if you're an evangelical, it's evangelical or bust. And that's all you care about, which is pro-life or whatever. And if you're something, and it's not, the mosaic that makes up support on the right wing is as intricately woven as anything they have on the left. I got to take a break here, folks. We will be back. How are you? Why, I just got an email. It amazes me, some things that people will think I would answer. Dear Rush, who do you think is the most attractive female anchor on Fox? Who in their right mind would think I would even answer that? I don't have an answer. See, here we go. Snerdley is looking at me with his eyes he's now pondering it. Anyway, a couple more breakouts here. No, don't run down. You realize there's no chance here. Even if I had an answer, there's no chance at announcing it. What? I would probably be on safer ground endorsing a candidate than answer that question. Anyway, I always say I'm fascinated by the way people think. And only Fox, by the way. I was not asked, the other networks, they were not part of the request. Trump won evangelicals by 40-23 over Ted Cruz. That has everybody stunned. And I'm sure it has people in the Cruz campaign scratching their head as well. Despite all the predictions to the contrary, except for South Carolina, Trump's numbers with evangelicals have been getting better with each vote. In Iowa, was Cruz 34, Trump 22, evangelicals. New Hampshire, Cruz 23, Trump 38. South Carolina, Cruz 27, Trump 33. Now Nevada, Cruz 23, Trump 40. The figure that's really blowing the minds of the drive-bys. Trump even won Hispanics in Nevada. His numbers match the combined numbers of Rubio and Cruz, who are Hispanic. Whoa, back in a second. Welcome back, folks. 800-282-2882. If you want to be on the program, your phone calls are coming up. Here's the Kasich story. I'm not exactly sure what the goal. In fact, we may have. Let me check the audio soundbite, Rush. We may have. I think I saw this. We did. Pardon me, folks. When I go, for as tech advanced as I am, this is a paper project, and I don't have a master list of. So I just got to go through here. Kasich. I thought I saw it. Maybe I don't have it. Yeah, okay, we don't have it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, Cookie. Don't sweat it. It'll be too late by the time I read this. It's no big deal. No big deal. Kasich, I'm not exactly sure what the goal is. Here's the story. This is from, it's a YouTube video, but where did I see this? It's not last night. I've been watching it, and I read a story, but here's the way it's written. John Kasich's relentlessly positive stump speeches can often feel like motivational seminars, but on a rainy Tuesday night in Georgia, it sounded like Kasich was trying to motivate himself. Here's what I know. I know I'm doing my best, he told a crowd of 100 supporters who had spilled outside of the Sandy Springs City Hall that was too small to accommodate those who would share. Are you kidding me? They're trying to make it sound like a huge crowd there with 100 people, and it was so big it had to spill out, and it was held in a city hall. Anyway, Kasich said, I'm following the purpose that I think has been laid out for me, and to achieve that goal, and then he paused. Well, I'm not exactly sure what the goal is. Some might say it's being elected president. Maybe it's a different goal. And he went on to say that he's just letting things play out. He doesn't really know what the goal is. Now, how does that start? Let's say you're a Kasich supporter. Let's say you've even given him money. Let's say that you've been raising money for Kasich. And he's speaking at a large crowd, 100 people, so big the overflow was spilling out the doors of a small town city hall. And then Kasich says, I'm not exactly sure what the goal is. I'm following the purpose that I think's been laid out for me to achieve that goal. Somebody, what's the goal? Well, I'm not exactly sure what the goal is. Politico had a story yesterday morning, headline, GOP to Kasich, get out, arguing that Kasich is hurting Cruz and that Kasich is hurting Rubio and their chances to consolidate the not Trump vote. This is going to be a close call because I'm not sure of the numbers here, but I think even if you add right now Trump or Cruz and Rubio, you still don't equal Trump, do you? Or maybe no, you do. You depending on the poll. And there are a lot of people still running around talking about, okay, Trump's let's give him 40% we got in Nevada. It still means 60% of Republican primary voters want somebody other than Trump. That is one way of looking at it. But then ask yourself this. Let's say that Marco Rubio, after assessing the fact that he hasn't yet won a primary, decides to exit the race. It's just an exercise here. And let's give Rubio, 18%? If Cruz 18%, 36. So using our numbers, their combined still are a little bit short of Trump. But let's give Rubio, just for the sake of this hypothetical, give him 18%. Are all 18% going to go to Cruz? You know, in the Cruz versus Rubio scenario, there's some people on both sides that detest the other guy. You got some Rubio supporters that don't like Cruz at all, and vice versa. You've got some Cruz supporters that really don't trust Rubio, don't like him whatsoever. Trump's going to get some of those. It's not enough to say, and the establishment's relying on this. They still are in this denial. They're still relying on the fact that a majority of Republican voters want somebody other than Trump. And so if they get these guys out of the race, and say get Kasich out, get Carson out, and say get Rubio out, then that sets it up with Cruz, and Cruz is going to pick up all these votes and be dwarfing Trump. But Trump's going to get some of those. And I don't know what the breakout would be, but it's not realistic to think that every anti-Trump vote is going to stay anti-Trump as candidates get out. But it's all academic anyway, because nobody's getting out. And Kasich is staying in to be asked by anybody to be VP. And I'm sure he doesn't want to say that. I'm sure he knows this. I'm sure this is what he wants. He can't say that would not be politic. Hey, John Kasich, what's your goal staying in the race? I want to be asked to be vice president by one of these guys. It just wouldn't go over well. But that's what it is. And Kasich thinks that he's got a huge carrot to dangle, being the state of Ohio, that he's a governor, he's a popular governor, and that the Republicans cannot win unless they win Ohio. But then you might have to throw that out, because what if, again, hypothetical, what if Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan all of a sudden become in play for the Republicans because of Trump? So then Ohio's not singularly important. Not that it would not be a factor. But anyway, that's a bunch of offshoots. I think that's what Kasich is hanging on for. And I think he's hanging on for Trump. Well, no, I don't recall. Have you heard Kasich in any of the debates go after Trump by name? You have not. Kasich has been pretty clever about this. He's gone after everybody else as being childlike, and all this bickering, it's got to stop. He's kind of spoken about all of them collectively as he has attempted to elevate himself as the adult and the reasonable one and so forth and the responsible choice. And we got to stop beating each other up. But he's not going after Trump personally. He hasn't gone after Cruz personally. He hasn't gone after Rubio. And I think for a reason. It's like somebody called here yesterday. You think maybe Trump would pick Cruz to be? No, I don't know how that would happen now. I mean, Trump is getting close to defaming Cruz with some of these allegations about not being Christian, not being religious, waving the Bible while lying. I mean, some of this stuff is really vicious. And it doesn't matter. In any campaign, the most conservative guy is always going to end up being the target, and that's Cruz right now. The unquestionably conservative candidate is always going to be the target of the slings, the arrows, and all that. I don't know how that could happen with Cruz becoming, and I don't know, but Cruz and Rubio are relatively young. I mean, their political futures are still ahead of them. If this doesn't work out, they've got time to run it. Kasich, that's not it. Kasich really doesn't. What is he, 63, 64? Put him past 70 before the next chance, the legitimate chance to do this again would come up. So that's why I think VP is what's on his mind. Now, there's another chapter of this, too. This from the New York Times. Rivals no more. Marco Rubio and Jeb Bush talk and agree to meet. Since Jeb's withdrawal from the presidential race on Saturday, endorsements from prominent Republicans have been piling up for Rubio. Just in the last day, Senator Bob Dole of Kansas, Senator Orrin Hatch of Utah, Governor Asa Hutchinson of Arkansas have signed on to Rubio. But there's one endorsement that remains elusive, and that's Jeb's. And Rubio made a point on Monday when word leaked that some of Jeb's money was going to Rubio and some of it, and Jeb might even be thinking. Rubio went public and said, no, Jeb's not endorsed me. He knew it was not the time for that. No, Jeb has not endorsed me. He wanted everybody to know. Speaking of Jeb's money going to Rubio, folks, do you realize how much? $115 million was spent, was raised, donated to Jeb Bush? What did the people who donated that money get? And if you look at it, I mean, these people don't give this money just because they like the family. Well, take that back. Some of them do. That's the only, but most of them give this money for access. To have some say in the leverage of power should the candidate they back win. No great mystery here. So, isn't it interesting how fluidly and blithely people say, oh, yeah, well, the Jeb money is going to go to Rubio. Now, the Jeb money's gone. There's only $15 million left of the Jeb money. Now, some of that could go to other candidates, but they got to start raising it all over again. That's a lot of money we're talking about here. To ask people to donate first to some guy who doesn't get there, and now throw in again on Rubio because he's got the establishment backing, but he hasn't won anything yet. Il Rushmo at the EIB Network. Back after this, folks. Do not go away. And here's Dylan in Chico, California, as we start on the phones today. Dylan, it's great to have you here. What can I do for you, sir?
Hi, Rex. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I just know, I know why there's such a diversity in votes when it comes to Trump. It's because he said he won't let the people die in the streets. He said that numerous times, and people see that he has a heart opposed to popular Democratic opinion that the Republicans are racist and we only care about the rich.
Okay, from what angle are you coming at this, Dylan? Are you a Trump supporter?
Yes, I am.
Are you Republican or Democrat?
I'm Republican.
You're Republican. Do you think people are dying in the streets, or do you think people believe people are dying in the streets because Republicans don't care?
Well, I think I think a lot of people die in the streets no matter what. But, I mean, his health care plan, he hasn't really been too specific about it. But I think that he will set aside some money for people that can't afford health insurance, opposed like to Obamacare, where a lot of people can't even afford it.
You're talking about you're talking about Trump here.
Yeah.
Trump's going to set aside money for people who are dying in the streets that'll have health care so they won't die in the street.
Well, that's what, that's what.
Oh, you think the fact that he's saying that is why he's getting a wide variety of support, diverse support?
Well, not just that. People also see that he has a heart. There are like a lot of Democrats that think that Republicans are so heartless, because thanks to Hillary and everybody else acting that way. People, they actually see him saying that in interviews and stuff. They actually see that he has a heart, and he's very honest because he people come at him at all angles, and he doesn't deny, that he used to be somewhat,
So basically what you're saying is that Trump is using Democrat language as a Republican to reach out to potential Democrat voters. And essentially, the Democrats think the Republicans are heartless. The Democrats think the Republicans are mean-spirited and all that, and are letting people die in the streets. So Trump saying he's not going to let people die in the streets is a direct appeal to Democrats to show that he's not your typical Republican.
Absolutely, but I also think that they know that he's being genuine about it because he's been honest the whole time he's been running for president.
Oh, I don't.
So it's not just saying that. They also genuinely believe that he will try to do that, and so he's getting a lot of votes. And a lot of people that don't want Hillary, because they just think she's a liar, and they don't want Bernie Sanders because they don't want to go socialist. A lot of people are going towards him because of that reason, because they do believe that he's not just a hardcore
right, but
Republican.
You're speaking primarily, though, of Democrat voters who don't like Hillary, don't like Bernie for whatever reason, and so Trump has found a way to appeal to them. But you think he's being honest about it. He's just not just saying it. He actually is honest, and they're buying it.
Absolutely, yeah, and also the independent voters, too.
The independent voter, yeah. Well, I was the first to suggest that Trump is doing this. I was the first to suggest, after witnessing that debate in South Carolina, I was the first to say that Trump's making a play for Democrat voters by going after Bush, going after Iraq, by going after 9/11, by going after weapons of mass destruction, going after Republicans in ways only Democrats do. It was an open primary. So I can see your thinking on this. By the way, the Democrat side, I was talking earlier, I meant to throw something in. Bernie Sanders is not, folks, it's looking really bad all of a sudden for Bernie, but the problem is a Democrat turnout. There is no Democrat turnout that's commensurate with any kind of a gigantic movement that would be led by Bernie Sanders. I mean, the media is portraying Bernie as leading this revolutionary army of people. There isn't any revolution because look at the Democrat turnout. It's microscopic. The Democrat turnout so far in every caucus and primary is way below what it was in 2008 and way below what it was in 2012. And that's not related here to what Dylan said. It's just I meant to mention this earlier when talking about the Republican turnout. Okay, so to comment on what you said, I will grant that you may have a point, that Trump is doing this and that he means it. So, but my problem with it, Dylan, I'm the mayor of Realville. That means I'm a literalist. And that also means I am really unique. I'm in a small group of people. Most people are not literal. Most people speak in generalities and expect people to understand them. I take people at what they say. If they don't say it, then I don't think they have said it. And if they say something, I believe that they mean it. And when Trump talks about people dying in the street, I'm sorry, I separate myself. We don't have people dying in the street. Not because of health care. Now, you might be able to make the case that there are people passing away, homeless, people passing away here and there, but we do not have a systemic problem of people dying on the street in the United States of America. So I agree with you why Trump is saying so. It's a crossover comment. But what he needs to add, in my view, is that if there are people dying in the street because of health care, it's the fault of the Democrat Party. It's Obamacare that's obviously bombing out and failing here. Well, another sterling example of broadcast excellence. First hour in the can on the way over to Limbaugh Broadcast Museum, the virtual museum at rushlimbaugh.com. And we're back before you know it. No, you tell them to be patient. I told them it's coming up. I'll get to it when I get to it. Just tell them to... You just tell them to hang on. Have I ever not come through on this? Right. Okay, great. Okay, greetings, my friends, and welcome back. Great to have you. Rush Limbaugh here behind the golden EIB microphone. The telephone number is 800-282-2882. The email address, lrushbo@eibnet.com. Al Sharpton. We talked about the Republicans earlier. The Democrat primary... I mean, Bernie's fading out. Bernie's already, he's, for all intents and purposes, he's conceding and surrendering in South Carolina and moving on. And the Democrat turnout, I mean, his crowds may be big, but the turnout at Democrat primaries is way down there. There just isn't anywhere near the emotion on the Democrat side as there is on the Republican side. Nowhere near it. And I don't care how anybody on the left wants to hear that or analyze it. What it boils down to is this is a campaign on the left about Hillary Clinton, and there isn't a whole lot of unbridled excitement about it out there. There may be some pro forma perfunctory attitudes about it as though, well, she's the nominee. We already know that. She's going to be elected. We know that. But there's no excitement about it. Nothing comparable to what's happening on the Republican side. Now, granted, there's not a whole lot of drama either on the Democrat side, but Hillary's not jazzing anybody. And Bernie may be drawing crowds, but he's not turning people out that way. It's a very, very important dose of reality. You get caught up in the buzz of Bernie's campaign, and you get caught up in the buzz of his big crowds. But it's like Romney was drawing huge crowds in the last week of the 2012 campaign, but they didn't show up. Or they were dwarfed by others who did show up on Election Day. Now, there are two stories in the last couple of days about Al Sharpton and Hillary, and how he's not all in on Hillary. Reverend Sharpton not clear that Hillary gets racial issues. There was a political story. This one is the Washington Free Beacon, and the headline, Sharpton doesn't quite trust Hillary Clinton, questions her understanding of racial issues. PMSNBC host and controversial activist Al Sharpton doesn't quite trust Hillary Clinton, according to sources in a Politico story that was posted on Monday, and he would not fully endorse Clinton's understanding racial issues. Glenn Thrush of Politico reported that people close to Sharpton say he likes Clinton and is probably inclined to endorse her, but he doesn't quite trust her. Now, just imagine how sketchy you have to be for Al Sharpton not to trust you. Well, for crying out loud, can you imagine what that says about Hillary Clinton? If somebody like Al Sharpton doesn't trust you? Sharpton also said that he wants to see how Hillary's campaign performs, and he's intent on exercising maximum leverage on the issues that he cares most about: community policing, sentencing laws, urban economic development, and forgetting tax bills. The minute you endorse, you become a surrogate, and I want to be an advocate, said Sharpton. The translation for that is Sharpton's not going to endorse Hillary until he figures he's wrung all the promises he can out of her. Now, given all that Obama has given Sharpton, that's going to be a high bar. I mean, Obama's given Sharpton everything, access, you knows what, and that's going to be a big bar for Hillary to overcome. Glenn Thrush asked Sharpton if Hillary gets race, and Sharpton said, well, I think she's familiar with it. Excuse me. Familiar with it. She was out there. I think I had the sound yesterday. I didn't get to it, but she's doing her black dialect. She was doing her southern dialect. I ain't no way tired. She just, wherever she goes, she tries to sound like she thinks her audience speaks. It's transparent as you can get. No, Sharpton says, I think Hillary's familiar with race. She worked for Marion Wright Edelman. That was the Children's Defense Fund. And marched with Dr. King. And I think that her husband and his Arkansas background, living more with blacks, they were more acculturated. But comfort and culture is two different things. But that's strange, because you go back to 2008, Sharpton threw down the race card on Bill Clinton. Remember that? Well, properly so. Clinton was sitting around talking with Ted Kennedy. You know, and Obama walked by, and Ted Kennedy sitting there, and Clinton said, hey, you know, Ted, it wasn't that long ago that guy'd be fresh out of drinks. Said that of Obama. Obama heard about it, and all hell broke loose. So anyway, my only point here is that things are not just rosy smooth on the Democrat side. And there's immigration news out there. A couple of stories. Jeff Sessions says that the federal government, the ICE people, are letting 97% of these kids, these unaccompanied minors crossing the border. He says that 97% of them are being allowed to stay. Only 3 to 4% of the unaccompanied minors who have entered the country in the last 2.5 years have been returned to their home countries. It cannot be, Sessions said, it just cannot be that every young person that appears from Central America is entitled to asylum or entry into the United States, contrary to our laws. This was during a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing. It just cannot be. Does anybody in this government not understand that? Immigration officials testified that the border crisis could be mitigated if more people were sent home. Thomas Holman, senior official, Immigration Customs Enforcement, told the senator that, I think if you have a consequence of deterrence to illegal activity, the illegal activity will slow down. Yes, obviously, meaning if you deport people, meaning if you enforce the law, it will slow down. Meanwhile, the flow of illegal immigrant children into the U.S. is expected to rise this year. Record-breaking numbers. This is an untold story. We think it was a story of last year, where you had all these minors from Central America flooding the border, and they were, but it's an even higher number this year, and it isn't being reported because of the presidential campaign. And that's in addition to all the other illegal immigrants that are coming in, and nothing's changed about these unaccompanied minors. I mean, everybody knows what's going on here. These are kids that are being permitted to leave home by their parents. Their parents are willingly letting their kids get on trains, whatever it takes to get here, because that they think is going to be their ticket. They hear the Democrat Party talking about unifying families, and they don't unify families by sending the kids home. They get the kids in here, they put them someplace, and then little Pablo, where's your mom? And find out mom and dad are in Central America. Well, we'll get them here for you, and this is the way. It's all working out. The Justice Department This was again from the stack yesterday that I didn't have a chance to get to. And this comes under the umbrella that everything this administration is doing, everything is geared toward one goal, and that's getting more and more illegals into the country and then getting those illegals registered to vote. It's why I spent some time yesterday. We talk about Obama wants to transform the country. And I was thinking, that's a little vague. What does that actually mean to people who are not here on a daily basis that might hear a snippet of conversation where that is stated? I mean, it's Obama's own word. It's his own language. Wants to transform. What does it mean? And that's why I started my riff yesterday on the attack on American culture. That's really what's going on here. There's an attack on the culture, on Americanism. There's an attack on the culture of this country as established from the days of our founding and moving forward. And it is that about this country that's considered to be illegitimate and unjust and immoral. And it was a culture that was established by a particular majority that's considered unjust and ill-gotten and immoral, and it's got to be busted up. And the way Obama is busting up culture is by the unstoppable and unlimited illegal immigration of all kinds of people from different ethnicities and minority groups. It's an all-out assault on American culture. This election could well be said as a last stand to preserve and protect American culture. And I'm not talking about racial culture. I'm talking about literal culture. The culture in which every American had a chance to grow up and prosper and live in. To be an American meant a specific thing. It's what was unique about it. It's why so many people all over the world wanted to come here. They wanted to become Americans. They didn't just want to live in this geographic region. They wanted to become Americans. It meant specific things, and they were all good. They were all related to freedom and liberty and prosperity. Included among their religious liberty, economic prosperity, freedom, and so forth, all the things they had been denied and everybody else in the world had been denied. And it was a distinct American culture that made all these things possible and gave people the opportunity to prosper within it. That's what's being assaulted. That's what transforming America means. It means erasing and doing away with this culture that established this country as what it was, because that culture is considered to be racist and bigoted and homophobic and all the other criticisms. So they're flooding the zone. And this story yesterday, the Justice Department supports, get this is the most, if you want to understand what this really all about, it's about getting all of these illegals, whoever and however they get here, not just from the southern border, not just from Mexico, not Central America, but all the refugees from the Middle East, wherever they're coming and however they're getting here. The objective of the Democrat Party is to get them registered to vote. The Justice Department supports blocking voter registration forms that require proof of citizenship in 3 states. There was a court hearing. This is the most amazing thing. The Department of Justice urged Richard Leon, U.S. District Judge Richard Leon, on Monday to issue a preliminary injunction to prevent these states from requiring proof of citizenship for people to vote. Kansas, Alabama, and Georgia. And the Department of Justice, the Obama administration, joined the effort, asking for a preliminary injunction to, in other words, the DOJ and all the groups involved here want to require Kansas, Alabama, and Georgia to do away with their requirement that you have to prove you are a citizen before you can vote. Now, why in the world, why in the world would you oppose this? We are in the midst of a period of uncontrollable illegal immigration. This is even more ridiculous than the left opposing photo ID. You cannot vote in this country unless you are a citizen. We have out-of-control illegal immigration. A number of states want to establish proof, mechanisms of proof, that voters must be able to demonstrate they're citizens. And this is considered a hardship. It's considered discriminatory. It is said to be disenfranchising. To who? Who in the world is it discriminating against? Why in the world would you want to make the case? Why would you want to make it easier for non-citizens to vote, which is what the DOJ is doing here? And you know who's at the bottom of this suit? The League of Women Voters, which is another ultra-left-wing group. The League of Women Voters brought the suit against Kansas, Alabama, and Georgia, alleging that the requirement to prove citizenship acts as a barrier to voter registration, particularly for the poor, for minorities, and older people who may not have the required documentation. The Justice Department's decision to support the ban is unusual because the department would otherwise be in the position of defending this case. It's it's so obvious. This is about the U.S. Elections Assistance Commission. The injunction was requested by the League of Women Voters, which is suing the U.S. Elections Assistance Commission. It's a federal agency that normally the DOJ would support, that normally the DOJ would back up. The DOJ has joined in a lawsuit against one of its own agencies for the express purpose of stopping and eliminating the requirement that proof of citizenship be demonstrated before one can register to vote. In 2013, the Supreme Court struck down an Arizona law that similarly required proof of citizenship in the voter registration process. And in that case, Scalia wrote in the court's majority opinion that states could seek approval from the EAC for changes to voter registration forms. A year later, a federal appeals court ruled that the EAC was not required to make such changes, and the Supreme Court declined to review that ruling last year. Anyway, what this boils down to is any impediment to registering illegals and undocumented is going to be fought by this administration, because the end game is not just flood the zone and not just take on American culture. The way to do it is to have them registered to vote when they're not allowed to, when they're not entitled to, knowing full well how they're going to vote. That is for Democrats. Back after this, folks. Don't go. To the phones we return. This is Sal in Cooperstown, New York. It's great to have you, sir. Hello.
Hey, Russ. Thanks for taking the call. A little nervous, so I'll try to make my point regarding endorsements.
All right.
My opinion is that lately we see the public considering even the so-called true conservatives, the Haleys, the Trey Gowdies in Congress or the Senate, be part of the club, as you call it, or the establishment. And when I hear so many on TV talk about, who exactly is the establishment, for me it's any candidate that's going to be indebted to an industry or a company because the candidate has accepted huge donations. And what I'd like to see from the politicians today, and they have an opportunity to make a name for themselves, good or bad, is not worry about what the consequences are going to be endorsing a candidate, because there has to be more than the select few that have done so in support of Trump, but haven't because they're fearful for their careers. And I think that just shows that they are also spineless if they're not coming out in support of him. And lastly, I think if Trump really, and I still question whether he really, really wants this, because if he really, really does want this position, he can have it with just a few minor tweaks on the things that he does on a daily basis. And so that was my point regarding the endorsement.
All right, wait, two things. Wait, don't go away here. Don't go away. Said some provocative things. Did I understand you correctly You think a lot of Republicans would endorse Trump, except they're afraid to?
I do. I think they're afraid to endorse him because the perception from the Republican Party is that if you're for Trump, because they're doing everything they can to get rid of this man,
right,
and that if you're for him, then you will be looked at by some in the public as bigoted or racist or just too flamboyant or not presidential.
Yeah, but you started off describing this as being establishment related, and you're onto something there. But that's not how the establishment operates. But I'll explain that later.
But here's a question then.
Yeah.
If Rubio is out there saying that Trump does not describe his policy and that you can't get away with that down the road, well, you know what, Mr. Rubio? We've asked you so many times, what's your stance on immigration? And your reply is, let's build a wall, which has been Trump's motto. And then his response is, we'll let the American people decide what they'll accept.
But see, that's not
describing your policy.
Wait, but that's not right either. Can you hang on to the break here? And then will you let me speak and respond to you when we come back? Because if you will, I'll let you hang on here. Okay, we're back with Sal from Cooperstown, New York. Sal, about your definition of the establishment, you said you consider the establishment to be any Republican takes money from contributors and is going to act on that money in terms of executing policy or whatever. It's close, but look, in terms of endorsements, the Republican Party is the Republican Party, and for all intents and purposes, we're going to call it the establishment. If you're in the Republican Party, if you're elected and you want to become more powerful in the Republican Party, if you want to climb the ladder of success in the Republican Party, if you're in the House and you want a good committee chairmanship and you want to get part of the leadership eventually, Senate, same thing, you are not going to endorse Donald Trump. You are going to endorse who the party is officially for, and right now that has become Rubio. It was Jeb. It has become Rubio. If you don't do that, you may as well forget amounting to anything in the Republican Party. It'd be no different if you worked for McDonald's and went out there publicly and endorsed Wendy's. You'd be finished at McDonald's. It's just the way it is. It's
but
not.
We that are not part of the establishment, we as the public, we finally have a chance to hire somebody who is not indebted, who is not playing the, hey, I better go along with the
right,
crowd,
exactly. But the Republican establishment is not applauding that. They're scared to death of that. They don't want any part of that. They don't want you hiring somebody that's not one of them. And you can't expect them to get excited that you're going to do that. And you can't expect, you're going to fight you left and right, which is exactly what they're doing, which is why they are in trouble. And it goes much deeper than that. But that's who the establishment is. The establishment is the club that you can't join. You can't apply for it. There's no application. You don't go, hey, I want to join this club. You can run for office. You can become a lobbyist, but you can't get in there on merit. It has to be connections, and then merit takes over. It's a closed club. You can't fly to Augusta, Georgia, go to the clubhouse at Augusta National. I want to become a member. It doesn't work that way in any club of elites. And by the way, let me tell you something else Al Sharpton said. And he is more right than he may know. Donald Trump is from Queens. He has never been accepted by the elites of Manhattan, despite what he's done. Trump's dad, Fred Trump, was from Queens. Trump was born in Queens. These clubs, when you're talking about elites and these super high achievers or whatever, however they got there, they are really exclusive and exclusionary. And Trump has never been welcomed into that group of elites that make up Manhattan power brokers, be they in real estate or politics or anything else. Now, that's not to say that he doesn't run around with them. It's not to say that he doesn't go to dinner with them. Doesn't say that he doesn't socialize. But he's not one of them. And it has propelled him and motivated him to build taller buildings, to become more famous, to become a bigger personality than any of them combined, because he's not admitted. Now, this is not something that bugs him. He doesn't run around feeling Oh, I'm having a mental block on the word. He has no insecurities about this or inferiority complex. It's just the way it is. So he's in battle with them now in politics. He's not in that club. He's not one of those elites. He's from Queens. He's not from Manhattan. He's never been accepted in the Manhattan. It's really tiny and small. You don't get accepted by moving there and becoming a success there. I mean, unless it takes years and years and years and years. But one of the hallmarks of elite clubs like this, no matter where you find them, and they exist in every town. Every city, every town has its own elite structure, the people that run the show. And if you're in it, you're in it. If you're not, and if you want to be, you're going to spend your life in disappointment. Trump has decided that he's going to do everything he's done despite them, while not becoming accepted by them or one of them and so forth. And the same thing is playing out here in politics. And I think it's one of the things that does motivate him, in a sense, like it would motivate anybody else. So when it comes to endorsements, the Republican Party, if you're in it and you've run for office, and if you have accepted help, i.e. money from the RNC or the Republican Senatorial Campaign Committee or the House Campaign Committee, both the House and the Senate, Republican and Democrat, have a group whose purpose is to make sure every elected Republican stays elected and new ones get elected. And every year the leader changes. It's always an elected official that chairs it up. And what they say to you is, let's say you're a freshman, you've gotten elected, you come in and they bring you in. And what do you want to do here? And you tell them, well, I want to begin this committee and this committee, and they tell you what you have to do it. And that is do what we say. You vote the way we tell you on legislation. You don't say what we don't want you to say what we want you to say. Do it for enough times that we can trust you, and you might get on that committee you want to someday be chairman of. If you violate it, if you go outside, in this case, like you, if somebody in this situation goes out and endorses Trump, they are finished. They may be reelected every year, but they're finished. They are non-persons inside the party. It's made miserably for them. They don't want to stay. Luis Gutierrez, Democrat, Illinois, admitted all of this, that it also exists on the Democrat side. That's why you're not going to have a whole lot of these people at this stage endorsing Trump. Now, when we get a nominee, then all of this changes, and then party loyalty rears its head. But in this case, even, you're going to have some split factions, because there are going to be some in this elite Republican group who are going to vote for Hillary, and they're going to say so rather than vote for Trump. They've already done so. There have already been unnamed. They have been quoted as anonymous elected Republicans as saying they're going to vote for Hillary instead of Trump if he's the nominee. Can't stand this, because Trump blows up their elite status. Trump blows up their club. Trump demonstrates you don't have to be in the club to get anywhere. The elites and the clubs rely on one thing. Well, many things, but one thing to ensure loyalty, and that is you can't climb the ladder without being a member. Okay, so Trump gets the nomination. They can't let this guy become president. It just demonstrates that their club's not needed. That's where the Republican Party is in this whole primary right now, folks. Everything happening in this primary is showing that the Republican Party, their chosen guy, Jeb Bush, 115 million, 4 points, 4 or 5 points. Now they moved on to Rubio. Question ought to be, why now Rubio? Why not Rubio at the beginning? If you like Jeb, what is this really about? Are you signing on to Rubio because you really like Rubio's ideas, or is he the next guy up in the club? And the answer is he's the next guy up in the club. They hate Cruz. Cruz is exactly what I just described. Cruz has gone up against him. He's done it publicly. He's done it on the floor of the Senate. He's challenged the leadership as a bunch of lying snitches. He doesn't have a future there, and he knows it. And they're not going to help him. And that's why when Trump runs out and says basically defamatory things, the Republicans are not coming to Cruz's rescue. He's getting what he deserves. He went up against the club. He went up against the elites, and this is what he deserves. He's getting his. That's the way they look at it. Now, as to your other thing about if Trump really wants this, Sal, would you tell me, what did you say? If Trump really wanted this, he would modify things he's saying? What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is when he starts hearing that if he adds up the votes, he just comes out and says on TV, I'm going to get some of those votes. But if he looked at the camera and said to those voters, hey, guys, I know you have loyalty to such and such, but let me earn your vote. Let me show you that, yeah, I'm loud, maybe it's flamboyant, etc., but I am the hardest working individual on this stage, and I want your vote. Ask for my vote. Don't assume that just because my guy drops out that I'm coming your way. And those are the little things that he can do that doesn't compromise his principles or compromise.
Now, wait a minute, but you're saying that if he really wants this, he's got to make some modification. Are you worried that he really doesn't want to win this?
I am. There are times where I look and hear the things he says and says, come on, Donald, you know better than that this sheep-like American public, they're very easily persuaded by things that are said, not only by you, but how the media portrays it. And if he would just tweak things here and there, like...
Why should he? Sal, wait a minute. Hear me on this. Why should he tweak anything? He went out there and said, I could commit murder on Fifth Avenue and my voters wouldn't leave me. And he was right. And the media had a cow. The media can't believe he's still alive and breathing. The media thought he'd be dead back on June 20th, 3 days after he announced. I mean, there's not... Your theory that he doesn't really want to win this because he's out saying outrageous things guaranteed to cause people some concern and not vote for it. We're way past that.
But if he could just tweak a couple things to guarantee an ultimate win, isn't winning the ultimate goal here?
Yeah, and I think, well, yes, I was going to offer an opinion. Yes, of course it is. But you think he might be trying to lose it.
No, I'm not thinking he's trying to lose it. I'm just thinking that him being himself to some people in America that truly don't see through it all might be persuaded.
Okay, let me ask you this. Let me ask you a point. Forget what you said about how he can appeal to voters instead of assume he's going to get them. Does it bother you at all that he's out there just saying this really, really defamatory stuff about Ted Cruz, calling him a liar and a nut, a crazy, and waving the Bible? He doesn't really believe all this religion stuff because he wouldn't be holding the Bible while lying the way he does. Does that bother you? Is that kind of stuff what he says about other candidates bother you?
From the topic of why he's doing it, no. But why I am bothered by it is if he keeps these two candidates, Rubio and Cruz, in the race right to the end, I'm convinced that he can win it. So I don't want Rubio or Cruz to drop out. I want them to stay in it and continuously get their 20%, let him get his 40%, and that will get him to where he needs to get to. If one of those two decide to drop out, then I'm going to have to worry about something else. Whether it happens or not is another story, but it is something to talk about.
Fascinating. All right, good. I've got to take a break. We got to process that because we got a genuine Trumpist here, folks. Got to process that. We'll do it. And we'll get back to more of your calls, too, when we get back. Thank you, Sal, for holding on. Back right after this, folks. Don't go away. Now, in this interview that Trump, or rather Sharpton, gave to the Politico in explaining why he's not sure that Hillary understands race, Sharpton actually said that being from Queens has kept Trump from ever being accepted by the rich and powerful in Manhattan. And it's true. This is not a criticism, folks. I'm not complaining about anything, and Trump doesn't either. It's just the way of the world. This is why, all this talk of equality and sameness, and it's bogus. You're always going to have the movers and shakers and the powerful that determine things. You're never going to take that away from them. Well, it's not that you're never going to take it away from them. You're never going to change them. It's just, there are elites in even in homeless populations, you've got the elite bunch that determine who's real and who isn't in there. It's just the way human beings organize themselves. And Sharpton's point was that the elites, the power brokers, the rich and powerful in Manhattan, Trump's from Queens. He was never fully accepted. He was accepted as a success. He was accepted as a guy to build buildings, but he's not one of them. Sharpton said just like being black kept him from being accepted by the same people in Manhattan. But anyway, Sharpton's point is this is why Trump is so anti-establishment and why he's willing to take on the establishment is because there is some resentment there. And to one degree or another, there's truth to this. And by the same token, you have people, and they're obvious if you know how to spot them. I call them front-runner suck-ups. You can spot there people that who are not part of these clubs or groups, but desperately want to be, and so badly want to be that they will publicly demonstrate that they want to be by acting like they are, by trying to be in close proximity to whoever is hot at the moment, whoever's got a lot of light shining on them. That today mostly means getting a lot of media coverage. You'll see all kinds of people that are trying to get close and maneuver in and want to be thought of as a crucial member of someone's inner circle or what have you. No, yes, I could name names, and I'm not going to. There's no point in naming names. If you know how to spot these people, you can see them left and right. They're general. I'll tell you how to find them. They're people that on their own have done very little. And but that's not their reputation. It happens to be the reality. But it's not their reputation. Reputations are far beyond what they've actually done. But they know their reputation is shaky and sketchy. This is a constant attempt to make it appear as though they're insiders. Let me think of somebody who's dead who did this, that I could give you an illustration. It may take a while to come up with that, but I know you're curious. Who are you talking about? What do you mean? Give us an example. I understand that. And I will, they're all over the place. Music, movies, there's names for them. Celebrity screwers. But just as there are, you've got the same type of people try to get in tight with bankers, try to get in tight with politicians, try to get in tight with media people, try to get in tight with anybody else who's getting a lot of media and public attention for whatever reason, who have not been able to do it on their own, who want to have it reflect on them, but they're not responsible for it. And they're all over the place, folks. And sometimes they're very able to fool. No, I'm not thinking. Well, Hillary. No. I'm not thinking of. The Clintons are a different. The Clintons are really not part of any elite, but they were able to forge their own sort of perverted version of one. Because they were able to shine or bring a lot of light to a lot of other people, but they're not a good example of this. They're an example of people who've outsiders who got inside and forced people to accept them. But anyway, I'm out of time again. You sit tight here, folks, because we got a big, exciting broadcast hour on the other side of this. So hang in there. Wait till you hear what the University of Michigan has done for its students. It's basically acknowledging and enabling 100% cowardice of words. Okay, to everybody on hold, I want you to stay there. We got a great roster of calls. It's going to be my responsibility and discipline to get to them. If you're on hold, I hope you have time to hang on. I'll get to you as quickly as I can. Greetings and welcome back. Rush Limbaugh, the EIB Network, 800-282-2882, and the email address, illrushbo@eibnet.com. What? Me? No. No. I'm not in any club. I am a 100% total loner. I am not in any club. I would never be admitted to any club. I don't want to get into any club. That's not my world. It's almost akin to being able to function in a corporate setting, which I have learned I can't do. I'm not a conformist, and I'm not a suck-up. I couldn't do that. I just know it. I've seen it. I spot it now. Things we're talking about in the last hour. It's some people, it's the way they go through life. I mean, that's what an Ivy League education is all about. It's preparing you for admittance into the D.C. elite. That's what an Ivy League education's for. That's how you prove to the elite that you're one of them. You have to get selected by the school first to get in. You got to do certain things to get in there. After you get in there, you have to study certain things and excel at them. And then you come out and you join your white shoe law firm or whatever you do, and you start climbing your ladder, and you've got sponsors and you've got people looking out for you, paving the way for you. That's not me. I would never be, I'm really, Groucho Marx, he said I would never accept I wouldn't become a member of the club that would have me or whatever. Pretty much me. No, I'm not snurdly. Well, what club are you in? Zilch, zero, nada. I'm not a networker. Anyway, great to have you back, folks. 800-282-2882. I've just come across a fascinating piece here by Ben Shapiro, who writing at thedailywire.com. He also writes some things at Breitbart. And he is a really bright young conservative out of California. And he has a piece here on what Ted Cruz has to do. There's only one thing Ted Cruz can do now, and he's got to do it in the next debate. If Cruz wants to win, he's got to drop everything and just focus totally on destroying Trump and not with issues. If Cruz wants to win Thursday night, he'll have to clock Trump with everything he's got and more. Now, before setting up the specifics of his suggestions, some table setting. One thing that Cruz has to realize is that Rubio will never drop out. The Cruz campaign seems to be under the bizarre impression that if Marco Rubio underperforms on March 1st and March 5th, that he will drop out of the race. This is nonsense. Shapiro writes, the Rubio campaign's already picked up the Jeb Bush money train. They're cultivating the establishment endorsements they think will be necessary to push Rubio to victory on March 15th. And that's true, by the way. That Rubio is the establishment's guy from now to the rest of this campaign. There isn't, if something happens to Rubio, the establishment's done. They're not going to go to Cruz. They won't go to Trump. And Kasich's not going to do it. And Carson, so their eggs are now all in the Rubio basket. Rubio's not dropping out. No matter what, he's not dropping out. And Shapiro's point is that Cruz had better realize this. Therefore, if Rubio won't drop out, Rubio is not the obstacle. Cruz and Rubio both seem to think that each other are the obstacle. And I happen to agree with Shapiro on this. I think that's not the way to look at this. Here are the specifics, what Shapiro thinks that Cruz has to do on Thursday night in the next debate. He says that Cruz should face down Trump and say to him, Donald, after a Trump insult or similar comment, that Cruz should say something like this: Donald, for months, everybody has been tiptoeing around you out of courtesy. Well, enough. We all know you're a spoiled brat who's never had anybody say no to him. You're a pathetic, bloated old man who stood on daddy's money stacked to make billions. And you can't shut up about how you're a self-made man. You're a ridiculous dolt, Donald, who lies about his politics, brags about having sex with married women, and shafts little old ladies for cash. And every time you're attacked, Donald, your face turns as red as the Kool-Aid man, just like it's doing now. And then you cite polls as though polls make you not all those things. They don't. You're just as much of a ridiculous clown as you ever were. And then Shapiro says if Trump tries to interrupt him, Cruz will have to tell him to shut the hell up and then not back down. That it'll be brutal, but if Cruz wants to win, he's got no other choice. Trump will not be defeated so long as both Cruz and Rubio are in the race, and Rubio is going nowhere. Somebody's going to have to knock Trump off if anybody else is going to win this. So, that, I think, is a measure of the frustration that is out there. And there is a lot of it, folks. There is a lot of frustration out there in the anti-Trump campaign. That Trump is getting away with so much that people are afraid to call Trump on anything. They're afraid to do anything other than tiptoe around Trump. And that's because everybody's afraid of the people that support Trump. They don't want to tick him off because if you take Trump out, you need to get his voters. And if you do Trump wrong, you might tick off his voters to the point that they'll just sit home and not vote. So it's a delicate thing. But the anti-Trump frustration it's sizable. And part of the anti-Trump frustration is not just anti-Trump. I mean, there are a lot of Rubio supporters who wish Rubio were doing things differently, like Cruz supporters, like Shapiro here, who wish that Cruz were doing things differently. And you can, depending on where you go, you can see all the advice that's being written for both Rubio and Cruz over how to do this. Shapiro is the latest to weigh in here. So I just wanted to share that with you. Obama and the Supreme Court pick. Republican Nevada Governor Brian Sandoval is being vetted to fill the Supreme Court vacancy left by Antonin Scalia's death, says the Washington Post. The White House press secretary, Josh Earnest, today would not comment on whether the White House is indeed vetting Brian Sandoval. I suspect it's only the first of many stories that speculation on potential Supreme Court nominees, Ernest said. I don't think it'd be helpful for me to get into a rhythm of responding. Dingy Harry came out. Hey, I love that pick. Dingy Harry, the minority leader for the Democrats in the Senate, said he could get behind Brian Sandoval, Republican governor of Nevada. Obama floating his name as a potential pick. Sandoval, by the way, announced last year he would not run to replace Dingy Harry, which disappointed Republicans who had hoped Sandoval could flip the seat for the GOP. Nominating Sandoval, this is thehill.com reporting this, nominating Sandoval would ratchet up the pressure on Republican senators who have insisted they will not consider a nominee from him. But by the way, you've got to know the Snerdley came in practically skipping and dancing to me today. You know, you always get me, I always end up being wrong, but I'm right on this one, I got you. And he's waving a piece of paper at me. I said, what do you got in your hand there? And it was this. McConnell, not a snowball's chance in hell I'll relent on SCOTUS. So Snerdley was reminding me that I speculated that Mitch McConnell's original statement was not all that definitive. And yet a lot of people were rallying around McConnell, you know, when he said Obama should not get his pick, just it's an election year and should not be automatic. And I said, he said should, not would. And so he gave himself some wiggle room. And so Snerdley is convinced now that Mitch has etched himself in stone on this. Not a snowball's chance. McConnell told a group of staunch House conservatives there's, quote, not a snowball's chance in hell that he will back down from his opposition to confirming a Supreme Court justice before a new president's elected. So, now we get news that Obama is considering a Republican governor, which is designed to take Mitch's snowball out of hell, you know, and just put it at the corner of 5th and Madison. Well, that's not possible, but just change the location of the snowball so they can melt, maybe, which is what Obama is trying to do. Get this from the state of Michigan, from our buddies at the Daily Caller. You've heard about all these things they call microaggressions that our young college students are so frightful of, so scared of, so you can't have microaggressions. No. And they need safe places to be protected from harmful words, speech that they might disagree with. It's just scary. So the university is setting up safe rooms, safe spaces for these kids to go. So a student center for gay, bisexual, and transgender students at the University of Michigan created a safe space yesterday to protect students frightened by an approaching debate on the subject, does feminism have a free speech problem? The announcement by the Michigan Spectrum Student Center said, we recognize that the rhetoric of the speakers featured in this debate is incredibly harmful to many members of our campus community. The Spectrum Center will be providing a supportive alternative space this evening and holding extended staff hours until 9 p.m. There will be no program. Our intent is to offer a relaxing, positive space for students who want to gather in community but don't want to have to face the harmful thoughts that might be expressed in the debate. And the debate, does feminism have a free speech problem? And that is so paralyzingly frightening to some Michigan students. They demanded a safe space to be shielded from whatever might be said at that debate. Well, you think I'm making this up? You're rolling your head in there. You think I'm making this up? It's right here at Chatsworth Osborne Jr.'s website. The Spectrum Center is a student center that offers various programs and services through a framework of sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. The upcoming event that has Spectrum residents so upset is an appearance by a British journalist named Milo Yiannopoulos, hosted by the Michigan Review. Yiannopoulos, leap, Mike, and let me know when you did it. All right. Currently on his so-called Dangerous Blank tour, which is taking him to dozens of schools in the U.S., the United Kingdom, and several other countries. In Michigan, he's scheduled to debate feminist writer Julie Bendel on whether feminism is encouraging this. They need a safe space from this. Yes, we had to bleep a word in there, folks, but it was not my word. It was the title of a spot. Just not worth the hassle here. It's no big deal. Oh, look at this nerdly AP. Senate GOP leaders rule out any action on Obama court pickets. A second story about Mitch McConnell and his snowballing hill. So, there you have it. There's a new poll, Reuters Ipsos. Is it AP Ipsos? Reuters, who is it? Reuters. Well, anyway, it's a poll. There was confusing polls. The first poll this week was erroneous. It said a majority of people supported the FBI in this Apple iPhone, terrorist iPhone business. But apparently the polling data is wrong. Most of the people, majority of people support Apple in this instead of the, yes, Reuters Ipsos. 46% support Apple, 35% disagree, support the FBI, 20% said they don't know. So that's important because the first story on this had the polling showing that majority of people were opposed to Apple. Apparently not true. Anyway, back with your phone calls after this. Okay, back to the phones. As promised, this is Randall in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'm glad you waited. What's up?
Thank you, Rush. If the FBI forces Apple to give them the ability to go through these phones, will that not the government be telling us that every part of our lives information that we generate be subject to search and seizure, like information between me and my lawyer, between me and my priest, between me and my doctor, anything that I generate and put on a phone be subject to the government taking from me because they will be saying that my information does not belong to me anymore. It belongs to the government.
Well, now that is the last thing you said there. The way you structured that is actually quite fascinating. But before we get to that, the FBI, if you were to ask them, would say, oh, no, we want one specific thing. We want Apple to give us a mechanism that would allow us to keep trying passcodes until we get the right one. But your question, okay, what are they going to do once they get it? What I mean, everything in this terrorist life might be on that phone, including medical records, including conversation with lawyers. We don't know. And furthermore, let me tell you what this is really, 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 really all about. What's on that phone, since it's an iPhone, a lot of the stuff's encrypted. The FBI can't read it anyway. They'll be able to read one half some of the stuff. What this is really about is, I think, and this goes back to 1992 when this computer stuff started hitting, I think what the FBI really wants is to eliminate a whole lot of encryption on these devices. I think that's the actual end game. And this little fight here is just one step in that direction. But yeah, it's a great question. Okay, they get into the phone. Well, where can they not go on the phone? I mean, what they need to find out what this guy was doing and with who. If there are any other terrorists involved, any other future attacks, they need access to everything on that phone, right? That's your point.
That would make this a police state from here on out, because the government can come into our houses, search our houses, they can take our computers, they can pretty much now, taking our phones and getting the information off of that would make us a police state. We would have no privacy, no way of having any information that the government can't get to. We would be, in a sense, a police state from here on out.
I don't know. People want to... Yeah, it's... Okay. It does, like I said earlier in the week, the real simple way to understand this is, despite everybody's fears that the NSA and the FBI are following you and tracking you and know what you're saying, apparently they're not. They can't crack these little iPhones. They can't crack them. They need assistance to get in. So the question everybody has is, how much security do you want? How much privacy do you want? Because it isn't just about this phone. It can't be. Once Apple manufactures a way, I mean, the operating system is the same on every phone. If they create a backdoor for this phone, they've created a backdoor for every phone that they've got an operating system on. So I think these are important questions. And what the FBI is relying on for the life of this country. I mean, there's, law enforcement always gets the benefit of the doubt. They benefit from the fact that most people think that law enforcement wouldn't go after people that are not guilty. They just wouldn't do it. That's why they think everybody arrested is guilty, everybody's charged is guilty, everybody's under suspicion is guilty. It's automatically assumed because law enforcement wouldn't waste their time. It's one industry thought of as clean and pure as the wind-driven snow until you have been... So Snurdly just asked me, Rush, why did Bill Gates come out on the side of the FBI in the sample thing? Well, he didn't. I mean, when they ran the story and said, was it a Fortune magazine interview that he did, or I forget who interviewed Gates, but the original report was that Gates was siding with the FBI on the premise, hey, it's just one phone, come on, it's not worth... And then the next day, after there was a hue and outcry, Gates came out and said, they misreported what I said. I didn't say, I'm actually with Apple on this. But before anybody knew that, why would Gates side with the FBI over Apple? I don't know. Latent competitive issues? Apple versus Microsoft? Who knows? I think in the club that Gates is in, the government's also in that club, so that'd be my guess. Here's Sean in Cooperstown. We got another call from Cooperstown here. This is more calls in one day from Cooperstown than we've had in 24 years. Sean, great to have you on the program. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Now, my question is backpedaling a little bit. It's about the Facebook video that you were talking about yesterday with Chelsea.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the question really is, you previously mentioned that Bernie Sanders has a certain connection to his supporters that Hillary does not have, that Trump has, that Ted Cruz doesn't have. I'm probably paraphrasing a little bit. Are you familiar with?
You're pretty close. No, you're pretty close. I think it's and the bond of the connection's emotional.
Yes, and that's kind of what I'm going off of. So my question is, do you think I'm not saying that the video doesn't seem like sort of a hoax in the terms of the stereotypes that you mentioned, but do you think that maybe that sort of passion that the Bernie Sanders supporters has might evoke that sort of emotional response?
Oh, yes. I totally think that a Bernie Sanders supporter, and maybe even your average millennial, could be brought to tears talking, or listening to how some people talk about, given the way kids have been protected growing up, given the way they've been taught about conflict resolution and self-esteem, and we all got to get along. And so I can imagine that a lot of young, hell, I've had it said to me that I scare 24-year-old women just by the way I talk on this program. So, I can totally believe it. That would be a genuine reaction. But the reason I thought this might be a hoax is because I don't know if this woman's actually, her name's Chelsea, and folks, let me reset the stage for those of you who know what we're talking about here. Over the weekend of YouTube viral, the video went viral, is a young woman in tears. She's just crying her heart out because she's making phone calls to Bernie Sanders for the SEC primary, and she ends up talking to a bunch of Trump people, and they're saying mean things about Mexicans, and they're just like animals. They're just animals, and they're white people, and she couldn't deal with it. And the reason I thought it was a hoax is because some of the criticisms are too cliched, but then the second thing is, what is she doing? I mean, if she's calling people for Bernie, that means it's a get out the vote. She should be calling people already for Bernie, just encouraging them to make sure they go vote. She's not calling people to persuade them to vote for Bernie. That's not what these phone banks do. So that's why I thought it might be a hoax. It's too easy to set up and criticize. Look at me. Here's a young girl. She's in her early 20s, and she's really new and cares about politics. And here's mean old Limbaugh making fun of her and laughing at her. I can just see the news now if I had treated it that way. And I think it was a setup maybe to get me to fall for the trick of being mean, appearing to be mean to this young girl, so they could write a story about it, or anybody else, not just me.
Mm-hmm. And I make mention of it just because I myself am a 22-year-old millennial, and on observation, I've noticed that a lot of people my age that are Democratic, their political ideals are basically on the spectrum of, I believe this is right and this is wrong, and then the rest of the Democratic ideals sort of follow suit based on what they find is right and wrong. And in fact, the whole reason I started listening to you, Rush, is because I have almost all my political information comes from my Facebook page, and all the people on my Facebook are millennials posting about Bernie Sanders. And I feel like in order to make an educated decision politically, I have to see sort of both sides of the opinions. You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of people my age don't do that. They just kind of give in to the Democratic ideals automatically. Because,
they haven't really had much choice. That's why they've been propagandized with it most of their educational lives. And if their parents are that way, too, then they really haven't been exposed to anything else. All they've heard is stories about what opponents are. They've heard that people are racist, sexist, bigots, homophobes. But the question for you is, obviously you know some 22-year-old women. Are they going to be reduced to tears?
I would say not even just women, but people generally. Do you mean like politically?
Yeah, in this same circumstances, the woman on the video. She's out making phone calls for Bernie. She calls some people that like Trump, and they start, ripping into immigration and Mexicans, and she's reduced to tears hearing it. Is that common?
Well, if it were true, if the video is in fact not a hoax, I would say definitely yes, because she hears the stories of these people that are bigots and are racist and do all of this. And then if it is true and she actually called these people, then this is almost proof. And that would maybe cause her that would bring her to tears, because it's almost the proof that she needed to have that happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. Now, one other thing before I let you go, and I'm going to play some clips of this video so folks you'll know what we're talking about if you missed it. I'm not going to leave you hanging there, but you said you're 22 and you needed to balance what you thought you knew with opposing points of view. It's why you're here.
sorry.
That's why you like listening to the program. Are you still floating back and forth, issue to issue, what you think? Or
more or less? I think I'm too empathetic of a person. I see a lot of points to both sides sometimes, and then I find it hard to make a decision. But I think I still need to read up more on the sort of the political spectrum. I've only recently started being involved in current events for the better part of a month because I just graduated college.
So you're new to this then?
I'm brand new. So even if you ask me general questions about the politics, I probably couldn't answer them because I'm kind of uneducated, but I'm now starting to be educated.
No, I wasn't going to do that. I was thinking of myself at your age. When I was 22, I already knew the other side was full of it. My mind was made up. Of course, most of my life was exposed to this kind of this political discussions at home and everywhere else. And I hear people say, I want to get all sides of the issues, but in my mind, I wouldn't trust what a bunch of liberals on Facebook are saying. But you are not there yet. You're still processing all this. And that's good. You should come to these conclusions yourself. You should accept this because I say so. I was just drawing comparison privately while listening to you of, what I was like at 22 versus what you're like. You're just now getting started in this, and you're going about it the right way. It's really great.
I'd also like to make one more thing. As far as college propaganda, I was a theater major and I was a business major, so I sort of saw it. That almost kind of makes sense. Yeah,
theater major, eh? You everything there is about the other side you've seen.
Yeah, so I'm going to be working in sales and theater. Like, that's what my job is going to be. I start next month. And I've seen sort of both sides of the political spectrum in terms of being influenced on different sides of the political spectrum because almost all my business professors were Republican.
Well, here, let me do something here for you. I want to help you. I want to help out. Okay. I want to give you a year's subscription to my website, the full boat, the full ride, Rush 24/7. That's
thought about purchasing it, but I was too broke to actually buy it.
Well, it's a $1,500 value that we charge $49 for. But I'm going to give it to you. In addition to that, I'm going to throw in your subscription to Limbaugh Letter newsletter. And are you ready? An iPad Pro to read all this stuff on.
Wow. Russ, that's crazy. Thank you.
I need you to hang on. What color iPad Pro do you want?
White's good.
White? Okay. Gold or silver on the back?
Oh, well, I'll go with gold.
Gold. Okay, cool. So I'll do that, and I'll send you a cover for it, and a nice, I even have an Apple Pencil and a keyboard that I'll throw in there with it. So that
wow, you are way too good to me, Russ.
Well, no, that may be, but there's an opportunity here for you to, I know your funds are limited, so we'll make it easy for you to access at least my website full way. And it's an encyclopedia. You'll have no doubts about what we think here, what I think, and what I think is right, and so forth. So it'll be a great educational. And by the way, you know what? At my website, you'll learn more about liberalism, truthfully, than you will going to any of their websites. Mm-hmm. Don't doubt me.
Thank you.
Don't doubt me. So hang on here, Sean, and Mr. Snerdley will be back, and we'll get all the need a FedEx address because we'll ship it out that way, and you'll have it tomorrow if you give us an accurate address. In the meantime, folks, hang on. I'll have you a video, the audio of the video of this young woman he was calling about right after this. Don't go away. Leland Yee, is that the San Francisco guy, former mayor of San Francisco or Congress or something, was on my case all the time, got mad at me for impersonating a Chinese leader. Guy just was convicted 5 years on racketeering. Yeah, we'll have the details tomorrow. Also, folks, I'm going to delay the playing of the sound bites of this young girl again until tomorrow because I want to get one more call in here before we have to go because I promised people that we'd get to the phones. And Ruth here has been on hold for a while. She's in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Ruth, welcome. Great to have you on the EIB network. Hi.
Rush, I got to tell you, February 24th, 2016, one of the best days of my life. Thank you for taking my phone call.
You bet. Thank you, Ruth.
Man, I've been listening for 24 years. I came to your TV show. I snuck in at age 14 when you're supposed to be 17, and I thank you for everything you've done. Really, really amazing. And I just want to say quickly, real pat on the back to your last caller. I went through my higher education as a musician, and an education major, and it is so difficult dealing with the radical left, which is basically the entire education and music industry. I'm calling as a former Trumpster. Before you said that the drive-by media is scratching their heads at the rise of evangelicals supporting Trump. And I have to tell you, I'm scratching my head as well. I'm not an evangelical. I'm not a part of the drive-by media. And I've done a lot of soul searching and trying to figure out what is at the core of this. I, too, supported Trump because I want to win. I've seen what liberalism can do, whether it's student loans or what it's done to my health insurance. I've seen it, and I want it to end, and I want to win this election.
Right.
Having said that, Trump is not a conservative, as you have so brilliantly pointed out and given numerous examples of. And this response to him is an emotional response. It's one I know well because I've seen it on the left my whole life. And we are not going to change the minds of these people, as you have said about many social issues, for example. However, I noticed this Friday night, my Shabbat dinner, I had people over, big Trump supporters, and I spoke to them. And they said, we got to change things, and they're talking from their heart. And I said to them, okay, what's going to happen in the next, not today and not tomorrow, 3, 4, 5, 10 years? You can't just think about your emotional response now. There's the Supreme Court we have to think of. There are judges that are being appointed to the bench. And not only that...
You know, Ruth, let me tell you, you are referring to something that's been a very frustrating thing for me for my entire career, and it's how to get to people who are emotionally attached to an issue, a candidate, or whatever. It's the reason Democrats are winning and Republicans are losing. The Republicans do not have a way to make an emotional connection with people. Trump does, obviously. This old adage that I've been using lately that people will forget what you say, but they will never forget how you make them feel. So you're not going to talk people out. You can't talk somebody who's a woman that's in love with a guy that beats her up. You can't talk her out of it. We know this. You're not going to be able to talk these people out of things. That's the wrong way to go about it. I've been trying for 27 years off and on in different ways. And it's frustrating. The key to this is a different emotional connection that resonates with them more. Are turning this emotional connection they have into fear rather than adulation and love. It's a really, really tough thing. Whoever comes up with this answer is going to become very famous and very rich. And they're going to get every political consultant job there is to get. And I appreciate the call. We're not through talking about that either. I was not comparing Trump supporters to abused wives. That was not the analogy. And anybody that heard me knows exactly what I was saying. But I'm ready for the distortions to hit. You have a great night, folks. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Adios.